Welcome back to the post-lunch session, and we will be going live
Rajiv,
to the
Rajiv.
OT in Medanta for our live cases. For this session, I would like to invite our chairpersons, Dr. Rajiv Shandil, Dr. Amit Mathur, Dr. Sanjay Khanna, and Dr. Rinkesh Bansal. So please take on from here.
Welcome everyone. We're going to have a third live case for the summit, and this is to be done by Dr. Rajesh Puri, who's the torchbearer of international US in this part of the country. And this is the case is from Medanta. Dr. Puri, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Saurabh, will you give the history, please?
I will just
Good afternoon, everyone.
I will just request the
So,
chairpersons to stick on the timings, please. Thank you.
good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Saurabh from Medanta, the Medicity. It is a day 2 of this conference, and we are having 2 live cases today. The performer being Dr. Rajesh Puri, our course director. So, the first case is a 62-year-old gentleman who has NASH-related chronic liver disease, child B cirrhosis, for the last 6 years. He has a history of recurrent upper GI bleed, and the source of the bleed was large gastric fundal varices, for which he underwent glue injection twice with failure, and now he has presented again with the upper GI bleed. Endoscopy shows large esophageal varices as well, but there is a sign of recent hemorrhage on the fundal varices with a small glue cast. After blood transfusion, his hemoglobin is at 11. A dynamic CT abdomen was done, which shows a cirrhotic liver with large gastric fundal varices with no significantly large shunt. The patient was given an option of BRTO as well, but he has denied, and we are here to proceed with the US guided coiling and glue for the fundal varices. Over to Dr. Puri, sir. Thanks.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. Rajiv, Dr. Sanjay, Dr. Amit, and Dr. Rinkesh. Am I audible there?
Yeah, definitely.
Very well.
So, history you have listened, and this patient was offered both BRTO versus EUS wise. There is no large shunt, and the most important thing before starting, I always do the upper GI endoscopy. We did the upper GI endoscopy, large fundal varix with the red color sign, and there are large esophageal varices also. So there's always be a discussion, should we do the esophageal route or should we do the gastric route? In this case, I'm going to prefer the gastric route because large esophageal varices are there. This planning you should have clear in your mind, and your accessories which is required should also be with you. So as the fundal varix is very large, I'm going to use the 19G needle. Why 19G needle? Because the varix size is more than 3 centimeter on endoscopy. EUS wise, we are going to measure. That means any coil which is more than 10 millimeter in diameter, always you should use 19G needle. So I have a 19G needle with me. We keep the various sizes of the coil and with the multiple coils of the same size also, because while doing the procedure, you are not very sure how many coils this patient is going to require. Although there is no fixed criteria, but the coils of various size should be available, which is by the Nestor embolization coil by the Cook. Then we have got a cyanoacrylate glue. This is very important, which I want to tell everyone. In the last 40 to 50 cases, in India, we have a N-butyl cyanoacrylate glue. In Western countries, we have a N-octyl. N-butyl cyanoacrylate glue has a polymerization time of 6 seconds. And because of that, majority of the time, the needle get blocked, and you have seen in your various conferences. So I always use lipid oil with 1:1 dilution. My assistant is going to inject slowly, so risk of embolization will not be there, and you are using the coil that further reduce the risk of embolization. If I'm using an octyl cyanoacrylate glue that has polymerization time of 20 seconds, in that case, you don't require to use the lipid oil. Otherwise, in my last 40 to 50 cases, there was no blockage of the needle, as well as there was no embolization of the glue, and which you are going to see in your fluoroscopy image also. So these things are important. Number one, don't use normal saline, either use distilled water or 5% dextrose. So these are important things. I have an excellent technician, Bhagwan, Ashwani, my colleague, Dr. Suraj, who is doing the all kinds of EUS is there. We have got a Dr. Blossom, who is an anesthesia in charge in my unit, and we have a senior technician, Mr. Darshan, and the entire team. As I'm planning to do the EUS guided coil and glue, I'm directly shifting and taking my scope to the linear echo endoscope, and which is by the Olympus. I'm using the GF UCT 180 series. The most important thing is while intubating, I have seen one death. This is important that your scope should not tear the esophageal varices. That is very important. This is very, can you see the esophageal varices? Can you see the esophageal varices? Am I audible there? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible, Dr.
So can you see the large esophageal varices?
Yes, we can see that.
So this is very important. While taking the scope into the esophagus, you should not injure the esophageal varices. So we have a large fundal varix. Now the technique of focus is, I'm going to inject around 200 ml of the water into the fundus of the stomach, or 150 ml. Is always better to intubate the patient. That is the best way. But here patient is under propofol sedation. We have not intubated, but in the ideal setting, it is always better if you intubate the patient, because risk of aspiration, either because of the bleeding or because of the putting the water, is always minimized. Is my EUS view is visible?
Kindly make it large. It's visible, but it should be large.
More water.
Can you just enlarge the EUS image, please?
Yeah, reverse the images, please.
Yeah, is the EUS images enlarged? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I will do the rotation of my scope to look for the fundal varix, where it will be visible. I'm rotating my hand and try to focus the. Can you see the large fundal varix?
Yes, yes.
Can you put the Doppler, Bhagwan? Now this is the challenge. Now, first of all, can you remove the Doppler, please? Now, this is important. This is the shunt. Can you see it here? This is the shunt. And I rotate clockwise. Can you see? This is outside the gut wall. Can you appreciate here?
Yes, yes.
This is the musculus propria. If I rotate my scope, and this is the intramucosal part of the varix. Is that right?
Yes.
And this is the shunt, which is going outside. Can you see it?
Yes.
This is the intramucosal varix on the right side, which is septated. Now this is a challenge, because I was planning, I have not done endosono in this case earlier. Now do you see the connecting? This is also connecting. And this is the large. So what is my plan is to introduce the coil here in this part, keeping this view. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm using the 19G needle now. This flushed. So the 19G needle, the stylet has been removed. Can you focus here on the needle? Is flushed with the saline, with the sterile water. Can you hold it?
Yeah, for everybody watching, Dr. Puri is from the European school, so cranial is always on the left.
Can we have a hand focus also?
Yeah, can you focus on the hand, please?
Focus.
Dr. Suraj, you just take care. So I have rotated my scope clockwise. I use the elevator. I withdraw the little bit of the scope here. I will see how can I puncture my needle, the needle puncture direction. Can you see it here coming? I will withdraw my scope a little bit more. Yes, I will do. Now, Dr. Suraj, my colleague is going to measure the size of the varix. Will you measure the size of the varix, Dr. Suraj? Is from here Above little, yes. Though
Okay.
this is the size of the varix is around 25. Is that okay? So we are
Yeah.
using the 2 centimeter size coil in this. I'm going to puncture. Okay.
Yeah, that's nice.
Now can you confirm the RV in the right position? Can you confirm the position, please? Can you see the blood in the syringe?
Yes.
Okay. Then we will reflush it. That is important, so it should not get blocked. Okay. Now we are using the 2 centimeter size coil, and we might use 3 coils. I request my assistant, Mr. Ashwani, to prepare the 3 coils. This is important, learn. The coil of 2 centimeter size, it is attached to the distal end. Now he will reintroduce the stylet in this. Yeah, he's reintroducing the stylet. He is reintroducing the stylet.
Dr. Puri, after you finish, please tell for the audience why are you going to use 3 coils?
Yeah, I'm going to tell. So please do fast. Blood nahi aa raha. Slowly jaise aa gaya. Can you show the fluoro, please? Can you see the fluoro image also can be shown on the EUS along with that? Slowly.
Fluoro
Very
is on. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You don't
Can you
have
show the
US
fluoro
now.
image? Is the fluoro image visible there?
Yes, but the EOS image is not there.
Yeah, can we focus fluoro and EUS image both? Yeah.
How essential is the fluoro image right now?
Kindly reverse
Yeah,
the images also.
just to demonstrate that there is a no, and we require 4 ml of 2 plus 2. Yeah,
Kindly reverse the images.
2+2.
yeah, I am used to that. If you bear with me this. Yeah, one more. Can you
Can't get the fluoro image.
Can you show the fluoro, please? जब आएगी तो मुझे बता देना. आने से पहले बता देना. इसका.
Dr. Suraj, we are not having both the EOS and fluoro images simultaneously.
Please, yeah, we'll
Please
get
do
to the
somebody
US image.
show. Yes.
US image.
Yes. Okay, one more. We're
not having the EOS image.
Flush. Please adjust this. Somebody should adjust this.
मोहित US image
Can you
बोल दिया
give the
फटाफट.
suction?
यार US image नहीं आ रही बोलो उधर. आ गई है पर fluoro
देखो,
image
patient
यहाँ
को
से
sedate
बोलो
करो.
ना.
Now this is the third coil I have introduced, and if you can see if you can visualize my.
यार उनको बोलना 1 in 1 क्यों नहीं आ रही अब सिर्फ US image.
Can you show the fluoro? Is fluoro is visible?
तीनों
No, it's
images
not.
होती हैं,
Now
US
we
बड़ी
have the
करके
US
बाकी दोनों छोटे images करें hand image.
Yeah, the third. Okay, inject with the water. Now, if you see the Doppler image, can you see the Doppler image?
Doppler is not on. Yeah, now we can see.
Yeah, remove it. Now, very important thing you see here. Just wait for time. Take more.
We are
Now
not
see here
having
the
the EOS
coagulation
image.
has started. Can you see the coagulation has started here?
Kindly enlarge the EOS image, please.
US image enlarge please. Yes.
Can you see already the coagulum has formed? Can you visualize here?
Yes, yes.
Can you visualize here?
Yes. There's a definite change in the ecogenicity.
Yes. So now my plan is to inject. Is the fluoro visible there?
Yes.
Now can you see here the significant flow has reduced? Now
Yes.
I will request my Mr. Assistant, Mr. Bhagwan, to inject the diluted. Can we take 3 ml slowly? Okay. Now
Dr.
flush
Puri,
with
how
the-
much glue you
yes.
are injecting?
Yeah, I will show you. I have a 1 ml of the glue and 1 ml of the coil. 1 ml of the lipid oil. Yes.
Okay.
Now you see the focus the hand, and he is gradually injecting. And see the fluoro, please. Fluoro.
Fluoro.
Slowly. Yeah. Yes. Inject. Inject. Block nahi ho isliye inject. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see the now? Can you visualize it?
Yes.
Yes.
Bas. Okay. Now see the.
Do you use lipoidal always?
I always use lipid oil. Advantage is it is visible on the fluoro, and as I said, we have a N-butyl cyanoacrylate glue. And N-butyl cyanoacrylate glue has a polymerization time of 5 seconds. So the risk of blocking the needle is very high.
Can we
Now
have the
my
ESP
only
also?
now just see the flow. Now see the Doppler. The entire signal has gone.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Very true.
Is that right?
Seen now.
Now I have only one challenge which I was seeing. What should I do? Can you see a small varix here?
Yeah.
What should I do? Patient should not bleed from here. So either I have to go through the glue cast and do this one also. Can you see here?
Yes.
Put the fluoro. So it's not visible, but I think it's okay.
Yeah. It's not picking up the Doppler.
Yeah. Is that okay? I think that is also, can you see the turbulence of the flow which is going on? I think we should try to inject this also. What is the opinion from the house?
Maybe have the Doppler, please.
I'm just worried that he should not bleed from there. I think you see that coagulation has started here. Have you noticed?
Yes.
So I think this is okay.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now what we are going to do is we are going to do the endoscopic examination after the procedure, or should we do the endoscopy here only? We can do the upper GI endoscopy. Can somebody will bring the scope?
Yeah.
And so we can prepare for the next case.
Dr. Puri, in the meanwhile, can you tell us how you assess the number of coils you have to put?
Yeah, this is a very pertinent question. So there is no fixed guidelines. The only thing is the size of the coil should be 1.2 times larger than the size of varix. The number of coil, you just have to make an assessment. As this patient has a large varix, I was not very keen that he has come right from the Jammu Kashmir, and I was not able to take the chance. That's why I've used 3, but the number can be decided on the individual basis. But the size of the coil can be decided on the basis of the size of the varix. And you have seen my needle is working, my glue has not embolized, and we have used only 1 ml of the glue.
Second patient का है.
Right.
Because the coil acts as a scaffold to the glue. It acts as a scaffold because there are the woven fiber attached on the tip of the scope. So now I'm planning to do the upper GI and see, because this patient has a large esophageal varices. That was my more worrisome feature, that he should not bleed from there. So that is there. We have not punctured esophagus. Now we have gone to the, can you see there is no blood?
Yep.
So that itself indicates that patient has not bleeding the time of EUS examination. So I'm just going to see, I would have shown you the photograph. Conference always give the less time. You will see the varix have reduced significantly. I have seen many times. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Nicely done. Yeah.
So
I think we can wait and this patient should do fine. Is that okay?
Predominantly transgastric.
Yeah.
Yes, transgastric, because the esophageal varices was large. I was not interested to take the risk of puncturing the esophageal varices. So I think, can you see the bluish discoloration?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So that test I'm not doing, we can shift to the next case. While shifting to the next case, any question regarding that, I'm going to happy to answer.
Yeah. So Dr. Puri, what was the size of your coil?
The size of the coil was 2 centimeter by 14 centimeter in length. It was 20 millimeter in diameter and 14 centimeter in the length.
So our this varix size was 25 mm, right?
Yeah. Because the
So
coil of more
how
than
we-
2 centimeter size are not available. So the trick to prevent the embolization is, you see, I have entered into the septum. The part of the coil has left into one space. Then I traverse the septum and I left into the other space. So the risk of migration of the coil will be less, and the 2 centimeter size are reasonably bigger in size. The risk of migration will be, and embolization will be very less. And the maximum size of the coil available is 2 centimeter.
Dr. Puri, your IR center is very advanced. How do you decide between BRTO versus US guided coil embolization?
Yeah, so we give the option to the patient, like this patient has not large shunt on the CT, dynamic CT, although it was visible on the EUS, but there was no large shunt. If there's a large shunt for the BRTO, we always discuss the patient, we give the cost assessment, we give the method which is stabilized from the last so many years, and EUS has evolved in the last few years. But this patient has opted for EUS. Otherwise, we would have given the option of BRTO, and as there was no bigger shunt, the IR people has said he is not technically a feasible case for doing the BRTO.
And in a lot of other cases, also a criteria. Cost factor.
Can you again repeat, Dr. Rajiv?
Cost factor is also a criteria in a lot of cases.
Yes.
And what was the
आपको
particular
पता नहीं
reason
चलेगा
for
कि-
avoiding normal
ठीक है?
saline?
Yeah, the reason is that the glue get embolized very fast with the normal saline. The polymerization with the 5% dextrose as well as with the distilled water is less in comparison to normal saline. So you should avoid. The few points which I want to highlight again: do the upper GI endoscopy, assess for the varices. Make sure that you have everything available. It should not happen that you should not have the coil of the adequate size. The number of coil, the size of the coil of that size should be available. You should use 5% dextrose or distilled water. I prefer to use lipid oil, but I have seen in the conferences where people don't use, the needle get blocked. And trust me, in the last 40 to 50 cases, we have never blocked needle. We can reuse this needle if we want because of the lipid oil. And the lipid oil has a radio opacity you can see under fluoroscopy. And lot of ectopic varices, we are able to do it, like duodenal ectopic varices. We see the carpet of the vessels. In that, the fluoroscopy image is very important, and we are able to see the glue migrating into as a serpiginous manner, that you are sure that you have completely blocked the varix. The advantage of EUS is the live real-time visualization of the obliteration of varix you have seen. So we injected 1 ml of the glue, 1 ml of the lipid oil, and 3 coils and 1 needle. So the approximate cost in this patient will be around 50 to 60,000 rupees, while you cost about the BRTO, it costs 1.5 to 2 lakhs rupees. And it is a 5 minutes procedure. BRTO take 1 day. They put BRTO, they again, second day they evaluate. So I think it is a quick procedure, we can do it.
And the risk
Dr.
for
Puri.
the scope,
Ashwin.
we're always worried about the upper GI scope when we do glue from the upper GI. So what is the risk for the US with the glue?
So the blockage of with the upper GI scope also, Dr. Rajiv, I have seen in my unit. I have been trained by Dr. Sood, and we are never be scared by the damage of upper GI scope. If you do a proper glue injection, and same with the EUS, the risk of damage by the glue is not there, and you keep the acetone with you. You can clean the channel if the channel get blocked. Otherwise, at least in my unit, there is no fear. But yes, in conferences, we keep on hearing that it damages the scope. So acetone should be there, and we should do the procedure step by step. The risk of blockage of the scope will be less.
So, Dr. Puri, how do you follow up this patient now?
So now follow up this case is after around 3 weeks, I'm going to do the upper GI. If patient has a red color sign in the esophageal varices, within 5 to 7 days, I'm going to bend the esophageal varices also. And to see the adequacy of the obliteration of the fundal varix, we have seen in real time, But yes, if you want more confirmation, you can do the dynamic CT and you can confirm. But otherwise, I think, in my opinion, the complete obliteration of the varix has been done. And
Sir, how-
after 2 to 3 days, you can do the varicose ligation of the esophageal varices.
Sir, how do you see thrombin versus glue debate? Whether
हो गया flush.
thrombin is any good or it is same as glue, or how do you see
Yeah,
it?
I think thrombin is better, but it is more costly. Thrombin is better,
Freely जा रहा है.
less chances of blockage, but it is costly. I think I use thrombin in the cases of pseudoaneurysm, not in the glue. I have no experience.
So what's the
एक में पहले
exact
वो
cost
करेगा,
difference,
फिर
sir?
करेगा.
The cost, allergic reaction, and the polymerization time, up to my best of knowledge.
Inject करना है, फिर वो cast करना है.
Dr. Puri, are you routinely using, since you're using Lipoidal only, then you're using the fluoro. If you're not using Lipoidal, then fluoro possibly is.
I always, in my all 40-50 cases, I am using the Lipoidal because I have seen blocking the needle with the glue in the conferences. I have yet to see a conference where the people were able to inject the glue without blocking the needle. So what I have learned from the radiological colleagues, I always use the lipid oil. That is 1:1 dilution. Are we ready for the second case?
Yeah.
We are ready for the second case.
Yeah.
So the second case, middle-aged female presented with a recurrent upper abdominal pain, and CT scan shows a small lesion in the body of the pancreas with a dilated pancreatic duct. Adenocarcinoma versus neuroendocrine tumor. Our plan is to demonstrate the contrast as well as taking the FNA with a 25G needle. I will require 25G needle and I will require the contrast US. We are using the Sonozoid as a contrast agent. दे दो जिसकी भी है और 22 दे दो 22 दे दो give 22. So how much time we left? We have half an hour.
Half an hour.
Okay. So a few important thing while doing, if somebody can focus, the cannula should be of 16 gauge and should be at the antecubital vein. In this lady, we don't have an antecubital vein because she's a obese. So anesthesia people has put it in the forearm. But we will require the contrast agent to be injected from here.
ये रहा.
Mr. Ashwani, we require contrast should be injected from here and the saline should be injected from here. So Ashwani, we are using the SonoView. The two important contrast agent available is Sonozoid and SonoView. In our country, SonoView is available. We are using 5 cc of the SonoView in this case. We'll just focus the lesion and then we will plan what should be our impression. So let me just go to the head of the pancreas just to complete, and then I will concentrate on the FNA technique as well as on the contrast. So because we have not seen this case, we have just focused on the CT scan, what has been carrying. This patient came just today in the morning from the Agra. So we are going
on
to
the CT, how does the picture look like, sir?
look like a neuroendocrine tumor. That's why otherwise we were planning to put a subepithelial lesion and showing the FNA. We have changed because this patient come few hours before. So my plan is to look for the pancreatic parenchyma, how it looks. Can you see the pancreatic parenchyma here is normal? Can you see the pancreatic parenchyma?
Yes.
Okay. So my intention is to shortly examine the pancreatic head. You see the pancreatic duct?
Yep.
Can you put the Doppler, please? Okay, this is the pancreatic duct. Remove it. If I do a clockwise, CBD should be in the clockwise. I will keep on withdrawing my scope. This is the pancreatic duct. I will keep on withdrawing. The pancreatic echo texture is salt and pepper in appearance. And I am coming to the body. I have come to the body. Can you see the pancreatic duct here? Here is the visible. A small, very tiny pancreatic duct is visible here. And my scope has fallen to the stomach. Okay. Now This is the portal vein. So we have not seen the lesion yet
Yep.
because we have not done the endosono in this case earlier. So let us focus. Can you see where? Can you put the Doppler? So see the PD?
Yeah.
Can you see the dilated PD?
Yep,
Just
yep.
remove the Doppler. Now the important thing is the PD was normal in the head and it is dilated in the distal body. Now I will follow the PD to focus the lesion. The best way to focus the lesion is to follow the PD. So I am following the PD. Now can you see the lesion here?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
correct.
Yes. Yes. We can see.
A small tiny lesion.
Yes.
Can you remove the Doppler please? Now see, look at here. The pancreatic duct is visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
The PD is dilated. Can you put the Doppler? Okay. The PD is dilated in the distal body and tail. And I just do a little bit anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. And you see the lesion, small lesion,
Yes.
Yes. We can.
is appreciable.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, generally, this could be a small adenocarcinoma of the pancreas because the ductal obliteration generally happens in cases of adenocarcinoma, not in the neuroendocrine tumor. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are doing the contrast US. Is the contrast is ready? Is the contrast is ready? You please dilute the contrast. Please do it. Why we are delaying? So any question? I think we have delayed a little bit. We should prepare the contrast. Ashwini, can you prepare the contrast early? Because FNA will be taken only after preparing, doing the contrast US.
Measure the lead.
So with this ductal correction, how sure, I mean, how confident are we that it's a neuroendocrine tumor?
No, on the CT scan. Otherwise, anything which block the pancreatic duct, the possibility of the malignancy of adenocarcinoma is very high. So we are doing the contrast US, knowing the nature, is it hypervascular or hypovascular, that is going to help us. You see the rest of the pancreatic parenchyma was normal in this case. So is it a neuroendocrine or not? That contrast in the FNA is going to tell. This lady has a CA19-9 is normal, dull aching pain abdomen, and the dilated duct in the body and tail and the normal pancreatic parenchyma in the head. So that you see that around 2.4, 2.5 millimeter pancreatic duct in the distal body. So that's why we are going to demonstrate that are we dealing with the neuroendocrine tumor or adenocarcinoma, and then if it is a neuroendocrine tumor, then yes, we can do the surgery because the type of the surgery is going to be differ between the adenocarcinoma and the neuroendocrine tumor. Is ready? Ready? So for the contrast US, you do the dual panel image with the mechanical index of 0.15, TIS of 0.4. One black is a contrast image and this is a B mode image. Your lesion should be in the vicinity. In 15 seconds, the blood will come into the arterial system. So I will tell my assistant Ashwini to inject 5 ml of the contrast. Can you inject the contrast, please?
USMH, please.
You just speak once you injected. Completely injected 5 ml.
Can you enlarge the USMH?
Larger US image.
Injected. Inject the saline now, please. Inject the saline. Now you see the contrast has started appearing. Can you see the contrast has started appearing?
Yes, yes.
Yes, it's coming. Yeah.
Now you see the lesion is still hypovascular, is not hypervascular. Have you noticed there was a no uptake here?
No, there's no uptake.
Can you visualize here?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see it is not uptaking? That indicate there's a you can see the contrast agent into the vessel. You can see
Yeah.
the pancreatic parenchyma.
Yeah,
But
surrounding
the
area
lesion
is
seen
well-
on the B mode image, there is a no uptake of the contrast agent. Is that right?
Yes,
Yep.
Yes, perfectly.
So that indicate a hypovascular lesion appears to be an adenocarcinoma.
Very true.
Okay, it's clear. You can see the blood contrast has come into the
Vessels.
vessel, but it's completely hypoechoic lesion. Is that right?
No
Very-
uptake at all.
So now we are using the 25G needle to puncture it.
Dr. Puri, it appears resectable through the stomach.
Yes,
Why do we want to do an FNA?
I agree. It's a very valid point. Actually, I was planning to raise this question. Should we take the FNA or not? What is the opinion of the house? Because if it would have been a duodenum, then yes, I would have taken the FNA. Should we take FNA in this case or not? What is the opinion of house?
Not recommended.
Not required. Not required.
So you feel that it is adenocarcinoma?
Yeah.
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 So any question regarding this, I will welcome to answer. And I agree with the panelists that we should not take the FNA.
If
Okay.
you were to do a FNA, would you do a FNA or FNB from here?
It's a small lesion. I'm using the Procore needle. So whatever the material will come, but it will definitely spread on the slides.
Okay.
And the rest of the material will be there. Then I can do it on the histopathological examination. But I will prefer first FNA in this case.
Yeah. So
I know if there's a neuroendocrine tumor, your
Yeah.
question is why you are not doing this. Patient has to go for a surgery, number one. The lesion is small. I will take few slides, 2 to 3 slides for FNA, and the rest of the material I will send for the histopathological examination if I get adequate. But this patient has a contrast CT in the Agra, and for the demonstration purpose, but we'll definitely going to do the CT with the pancreatic protocol in this case. So I think we have a one more case, but I think we'll fall short of the time. We have 20 minutes. We have a subepithelial lesion where it we would have.
We can see it.
Because-
25 minutes are there. Yeah.
Should we plan? The patient is ready. Can we take?
Yeah.
So let's see that in 25 minutes, if we are able to show the FNA, in that case, we are going to do it.
उसको करो lady.
Okay.
Right.
Till that, any discussion on the EUS guided coil and glue, as well as in the contrast enhanced EUS, I'm happy to give. And if the time will left, I'm showing the FNA technique in the next case.
Right. Dr. Puri, I'll ask you a question that only the Nestor coils you're using? Yeah, any other coils are available with you also?
Fullness or ये है doctor.
So frankly speaking, my best of knowledge, Nectar coils are only available. I have not gone through. I can ask Mr. Bhagwan, is the coils are available by any other company?
Non-specific, incidentally.
Boston coils are also available.
CT पे
Yeah.
found.
Boston coils are also available. I have not used, but I will try to use, because right from the beginning, we were
This is
using
probably
this
the-
Nectar coil.
Yeah, this is probably the thinner of the two. The Boston ones are slightly thinner.
I was not aware, actually, frankly speaking.
So there is always a
40.
point that when you deploy the coil, you just deploy them within the scope and then push them. Do you follow that?
Can you again repeat, Dr. Rajiv? Can you speak little loudly?
When you are deploying the coils, you deploy them within the scope and then push it.
Yes.
So do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, a coil hub should be attached to the hub of the needle. That is very important to fix it.
Okay.
Then you introduce the stylet, which is available with the needle, which is around 10 centimeter, and then you remove it and then reintroduce the stylet of your needle. Because otherwise the entire needle will not going to cross. You have a 10 to 15 centimeter of the hub of the coil. So first you have to remove the needle from that hub. Once it goes to the needle, you remove that part. Otherwise your stylet is not that long. It absolutely fit into the needle. That's why you have to remove the coil hub from the needle place.
So if you deploy it very fast, it can also embolize if you have a shunt. If you don't know you're doing in a patient in acute setting, the coil itself can embolize.
Yes. So as I told you, there are a few techniques. Number one, you are taking the 1.2 centimeter size, bigger the size than the varix, number one. Number second, you have seen many of the time varices has a septum.
Yeah.
So you leave part of the coil because coil produce 3 rounds.
Yeah.
So first round you can delete in the one septum and second round into the second septum. That is the second way. The pupil has tried to tug it into the stomach wall also. They remove slightly outside and keep it on the stomach wall. The only problem is that you have to repuncture in that case. Otherwise, these are the methods by which you can prevent, and the adequacy of the size of the coil is very important to assess for the to prevent the embolization of coil.
इसके लिए आया है
Another thing, like
जिसको
you
कि
have type 2
अल्ट्रासाउंड में उसको
gastric
देख के उसका
varices, like
सैंपल लेंगे
Hashimoto's classification, when they are like tumor, small
बिल्कुल तुम्हें
varices,
पता नहीं
and you
चलेगा
don't know beforehand that
Sedation.
what you're going to see
Sedation.
inside, then probably you may not be able to do coils in them. Very small varices.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Rajiv is a very pertinent question. Most of the time you have seen in this case also, they are interconnecting with each other. They are the partial septa. They are not complete septa. So you go into the distal one. So you make sure that like I was confused in the last small column, the varix, which was patent and ultimately it got solidified. But it is always better you start from the distal end and come to the proximal end, because you will not get any artifacts of the coil and you are able to completely solidify the varix.
That's an important point. Start from the distal and come to the proximal part.
धीमे धीमे
सेडेट
कुक की नीडल ले लेना 19G लोगे कौन सी है प्रोकोर है प्रोकोर ले लो 22
So how often do you use contrast before doing FNA in a pancreatic lesion?
No, Dr. Rajiv, I always try to use contrast if there is a suspicion of neuroendocrine or chronic pancreatitis with the mass in the pancreas. In the day-to-day practice, I don't do the contrast US.
Is more useful in chronic pancreatitis cases? We found it more useful in patients of chronic pancreatitis with underlying malignancy?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any speed at which the contrast has to be injected?
1 ml per second. 1 ml per second.
Dr. Puri, you're also doing RFAs?
No, we are not doing yet RFAs because the cases are less. But if the case comes, we definitely do.
This, if it was a neuroendocrine, would have been a decent case for.
Yeah, but this is an operable case.
Yeah.
So I suggest rather than doing the RFA, we would have subjected him for a small surgery. But yes, the machine is available on the rent. It will all depend upon the availability of case. And RFA, you know that through the needle type, it just requires puncturing the lesion and the RFA machine does the work. So it is not a difficult work to do it.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Sedation given?
Yes, sedation.
Okay. So this case is the slides has not been made, but this patient has an incidentally detected lesion in the mid body of the stomach, the submucosal lesion. This patient also came today only. Unfortunately, 2 Vaughan cases. 1 Vaughan case comes COVID positive and 1 Vaughan case has a significant collaterals. So because of that, we discussed with the risk of bleeding and he was not keen. So these 2 cases come today only. I myself has not seen. I was busy in the conference. So endoscopic view I am going to show you here. It is in the mid-body stomach.
Yeah.
Entropyloric lesion. Is this the lesion?
Yes.
Can you see a large lesion?
Yeah. Almost
So
obstructing.
directly coming. So my diagnosis, it is a GIST tumor. Can you see? Typical GIST originating from the 4th layer. Can you see here layer?
Yeah.
Is the layer visible here? 4th layer?
Can you
Please enlarge
enlarge
the
the EUS, please?
Please enlarge
This
the
is the
US.
third. This is the 3rd layer. This is the 3rd layer. This is the 4th layer. The lesion originating from the 4th layer, number 1. The possibilities are schwannoma, or patient might have GIST, or patient might have a smooth muscle cell tumor, that is leiomyoma. This patient has an irregular border. Can you see the borders are irregular?
Yes.
That indicate the possibility of malignancy is there. The second point. The third point, patient has cystic spaces. That again favor the possibility of malignancy. And size of more than 3 centimeter favor about malignancy. And look at the size 44 millimeter.
Can we apply the
So this-
doctor?
Yeah, we'll put the Doppler. We'll just put the Doppler. This is the Doppler. Can you see the vascular signals?
Yeah.
So the differentiation of schwannoma and leiomyoma versus GIST tumor is the Doppler signals are more prominent in the GIST, while the less prominent in the schwannoma and the smooth muscle cell tumor. Okay, so one information is very clear. What information we need? Layer of origin. That we have confirmed the layer of origin is fourth layer. Can you see it here also, layer of origin? Can you appreciate here?
Yeah.
Can you appreciate?
Yeah. Well, may I ask a question? When do you put
Yeah.
water in?
Yeah, I can put the water to delineate at the edge of the lesion. I put the water to focus the lesion. But I'm not putting the water because you want, I can do the demonstration. I'm just finding the points.
Yeah.
You should look for the lymphadenopathy, number 1. You should look for the adjacent organ involvement, number 2. You look for the echogenicity. You see heteroechoic nature, cystic spaces, vascular signal, fourth layer, irregular border, the possibility of malignant GIST is there. This patient will require neoadjuvant chemotherapy first, immunative. So that's why the indication is to do the histology in this case. So I'm using the 19G needle. Now, frankly, are we using Procore? Yes, we are using the Procore 22. So we have a possibility of Acquire needle versus Procore needle. Both are equally good. And the previous case, I have done the Acquire needle from the Boston. This time I'm using the Cook. Otherwise, you can use either of the needle. Okay. Now, that is another important area. Try to avoid the cystic space. Number 1. Put the Doppler signal to look for the bigger vessel if there is not. Another important thing, as this is the stomach lesion, you always tell your assistant to pull the scope because the stomach wall is going to push. So I will suggest my technician to pull the scope towards him. That is important. Actually, you do go there. Okay, because it should not go with the, it should not move with the with the stomach wall. So my assistant is going to hold the scope very firmly. The Ashwani is holding the scope very firmly, so it should not move. Now I'm using the Procore needle 22G and we'll see the material. Otherwise, I might use the Acquire needle. Can you remove the Doppler? Now the important point of this is always do the jerky movement. Okay. So now you should fire. Your needle should go like a jab movement. Can you
US
see?
image, please.
Yeah, the needle should be like a jab movement. This is important.
You're not seeing the US image.
So you have fired already. We need to see the target.
Yeah, jab
US.
is because the stomach wall is
US
going to
image.
push with the needle. That's
US,
number 1. And second, your plan is to cut the tissue. And as the stomach wall move with the lesion, you may not get the tissue. If I don't jab, there is a high possibility that the needle will move with the lesion. If you jab, then you are cutting the tissue. So we will reintroduce the stylet. And can you remove the stylet, please? So I'm doing the jabbing movement. If somebody can focus on my hand, I'm doing the jabbing movement. The purpose is to get the specimen because sometimes the lesion move with the stomach wall is movable organ. So it's always important. You should have a jabbing movement. Your assistant should hold the scope and pull the scope. So the lesion should not move with the needle movement.
So how many jabs with the Procore needle, Dr. Puri?
Pardon?
How many jabs with the Procore?
So 10 to 15. So first pass, I will see the material has come or not. Otherwise, I will do the suction. So we have taken out CT scan
No,
has
we've
not.
discussed the CT.
So
It's a
this is
question.
like, are we still on?
Yeah.
The same thing is.
Can you
seen.
give Dr. A.S. Puri?
Yeah,
Can you give the mic? Dr. A.S. Puri, mic. Dr. A.S. Puri is going to speak because he has some view point. He is going to speak.
So I wanted to show the correlation between the CT findings and the EUS. And on the CT, can we have the films, please? This lesion is enhancing all on the periphery and the center, the core area, what you saw, what he was showing as the cystic areas, that is completely necrosed lesion. So that is hypodense, and the periphery, a big chunk of the periphery is hyperdense. That is another feature of a CT feature of GIST, because the tumor enhances as it outgrows, then it outgrows its blood supply and the center becomes necrotic. So that is another. So there is excellent correlation between the EUS and the CT. So I think I'm willing to put money on this, that this is going to be coming out as a GIST. That's the point I wanted. Thank you.
And it's important to take the biopsy because this patient has a large and is going to require immunity prior to this. Can you focus the material? Is the cameraman focus the material here? Is the slides are visible?
Yeah, very, very good material.
Okay. So we will take one more pass. Do we have time? We'll
10
take
minutes.
one more pass. And then we will switch over to our conference part. So I will take one more pass. Any question regarding FNA, FNB? This is the real indication of doing the FNB. In this case, you don't require to do the FNA.
So any role of EUS elastography in such large disc?
Yes, we will show the EUS elastography. Definitely, we can show the EUS elastography. Can you do the elastography, please? Okay. Let me just do.
It's all hard.
Just wait for a minute. You're not yet focused. Not yet focused. Can you see here?
Yep.
So now there is a two type of elastography, qualitative and the quantitative. Now initially people were saying the qualitative is more interpretation based and more subjective. But again, the data favors that qualitative elastography will be better than quantitative elastography. Now look at here, although it is not completely blue, but can you see the blue area in this?
Yeah. Yes.
So that favors towards the possibility. One more important thing, Ashwin is here. Can we make this completely enlarged? Can you make it completely?
Dr. Puri, do you check for the strain ratio also?
Yeah, strain ratio. That's why I said those are no more used. But yes, you can use the strain ratio in this. And for the strain ratio, you have to see the ratio of the wall as well as the lesion. We just want to expand completely and below. Yes, make it bigger. So this is not the right way. Your examination screen should completely enlarge. Is now better?
Yeah. We can see some blood also in the center, post puncture.
Now see the EUS. Okay.
Yeah.
So they basically the green and the red indicate is a soft and the blue indicate about the hard and that indicate about the malignancy. But the ideal way, because to be very frank, we were not able to make it. Can we make this completely? The entire lesion should be come into the picture. That should be the right way. Can you make this scanning green one completely over the lesion? Yeah, it's not. Can you enlarge it? Yes. Can you make it a little bit up also? Yeah, up also. They should cover entire lesion. We have an Olympus guy. I don't know why the machine is not making. But that is the right way which I want to tell you. I don't know why they were not able to do it. So number one, you can do the elastography. Can you see the pattern here is coming completely blue?
Yeah.
Can you notice this?
Yes, sir.
So this is the elastographic image the FNAC is definitely going to require, because in this case you require a tissue diagnosis to prove the disease, and yeah, FNAB, always be. So I'm using the Procore needle. I remove the stylet. I took out and I'm inside. Okay. So now I'm going to use the fanning technique. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the way you should do the fanning technique. Is that clearly seen, the fanning technique, by using the big knob?
Yes.
So I'm using the big knob and making the, by using the big knob, I'm doing the this. So that is good enough. We'll check the material and then we switch over to the main conference. I think we will have complete time within 5 minutes. No, very less chance. Very less chance.
This being a vascular tumor?
Yeah, because the best ways you can see with the needle while removing.
Can we see the slides, Dr. Puri?
Yeah, we will show. Just let us spread the material. Dalo. Okay. Okay, now look at here. Can you give the needle? Can you give me the please 22 gauge needle? Can you focus the slide, please? Can you give me the needle, Ashwini? Can you give me the needle? So I will try to use the other needle also, but you can see, can you enlarge this? Can you enlarge?
Yeah.
Is visible?
Yeah, quite a bit of material.
Yes. So I think we can shift to the main conference. Dr. Jubin, you can restart the proceeding. I will take one more pass and we'll finish up the case. Thank you for the patience hearing. Any question in this, I will welcome to give the answer. Change the needle.
Thank you, sir. I would request the chairpersons to invite our next speaker, please, for our talk. Dr. Wadhwa is here.
Nahin.
Dr. R.K. Wadhwa is yes, he is here. Yeah. Dr. Rajiv, we can go ahead with the next talk, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Khanna, please.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon. I'd like to invite Dr. Wadhwa for his talk on landmark US publication in the last 5 years. So, Dr. Wadhwa, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv. I'll start sharing. Just confirm. You can see my slides or not.
Yes, slides are visible, sir.
Okay.
We need to enlarge.
Yeah. At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Rajesh Puri, Dr. Rajiv and Team Medanta for allowing me to speak on this wonderful forum. I've been enjoying this, and it is really very nice to see such a wonderful conference happening. I was asked to speak on landmark publications in the last 5 years. How do I choose these landmark publications and what criteria did I pick up? I looked at the articles published in the variety of US journals or gastroenterology journals publishing the US articles. These could be original articles or meta-analysis. These have already changed the way we practice or have a potential to change or influence the practice perspective, is how I picked it. Now, there's an extensive array of publications which has come, and it is not possible for me to go into the details of everything, but I thought it will be important for us to divide it into 2 or 3 important clinical situations where we are looking at these publications. So the first of One was in the management of pancreatic fluid collections, where I chose 4 articles which have already influenced or they have given us a direction as to how we manage the pancreatic fluid collection with the help of endoscopic ultrasound. The first of them is a MISER trial, which was published in 2019 by Dr. Shyam Varadarajulu and group. And almost at the similar time, a very similar study, that is the laparoscopic and endoscopic drainage comparison, was published by Dr. Garg et al. In surgical endoscopy. Now, I have combined this because I thought these have come at the similar time, and the event preceding this was that we knew that the Dutch trial had showed, PANTHER trial had showed that there's a step-up approach which works much better than open surgical approach. And they had used video-assisted laparoscopic retroperitoneal debridement as their primary focus after putting it in a percutaneous drain and then going in a step-up manner. While we knew that the laparoscopic necrosectomy has been done, and we were already doing the endoscopic or transmural necrosectomy, but we never had a head-to-head comparison between these two minimally invasive techniques. While we always said that we are superior to surgery, but we never knew whether these two comparative studies have any differences in the outcome. So that was the basis, which is these two studies gave us the first directions and established the similarity or the differences which I'm going to discuss. The other 2 studies which I picked up in pancreatic fluid collection series were early versus standard endoscopic step-up interventions for necrotizing pancreatitis. We have all known that we wait for 4 weeks, where the definition changes from acute necrotic collection to walled-off pancreatic necrosis, and we always intervene in the walled-off pancreatic necrosis, and the pictures are not very clear what happens in the intervening period if the patient has a fluid collection, whether the patient has a wall or patient has formed a wall or not formed a wall, infection is there and condition is deteriorating, should we intervene endoscopically or not? The last study in the pancreatic fluid collection which I chose was from Dr. Vinay Dheer and Dr. Amit Medhe's group, which gave us the direction. Prior to this paper, we were putting a self-expandable or biflange metallic stent for a long duration of time, with the hope that the pancreatic duct leaks will not cause recurrence by keeping that, thereby exposing the patient to the risk of bleeding or incarceration of the stent in the stomach wall. So, but we never had the evidence that what to do, whether to remove early or whether to remove late. So let us just start with the first of these studies. MISER, or minimally invasive surgery versus endoscopy randomized trial, came from Dr. Shyam Varadarajulu group, which was in which 64 patients were taken, randomly assigned to either surgery, minimally invasive surgery, or to endoscopic step-up approach. They had defined a composite primary endpoint, that is a new onset organ failure, pancreatic cutaneous fistulas, bleeding, perforation, or death within 6 months of follow-up. When we analyzed this trial, there was no significant difference in all-cause mortality. That is, the mortality was similar in both the groups, but composite primary endpoint was significantly less in endoscopy group, with lower overall cost and better quality of life in endoscopy. And MISER group concluded that endoscopy is superior to laparoscopy as far as the minimally invasive drainage of pancreatic fluid collection is concerned. These were the variety of parameters which were done. Patients were equally matched. The composite endpoints were much lower in endoscopy as compared to the surgical group, while the deaths were similar. The significant difference, however, was that patient had a much higher number of pancreatic fistula in surgical group, which did not happen in endoscopic group. This was primarily the reason of difference between the two groups. The second study, which came almost at the same time from Dr. Pramod Garg's unit, although there was a third study, or what is called as a tension trial, which came from a Dutch group also in a similar manner also had established. I have not included it because it forms almost a group or composite idea about it. Dr. Garg gave us they took 60 patients and they were divided randomly into laparoscopic or endoscopic drainage, with primary outcomes was the resolution of pancreatic fluid collections and secondary outcomes was the complications. And in these situations, both the success rates and the general outcomes were similar without any much difference. The only difference was the number of re-interventions were much higher in endoscopy group, and with the duration of antibiotics and the onset of or number of fever episodes were much higher with endoscopy group as compared to the laparoscopy group. These were the comparison of complications in these situations. Now, if we look at the observations of these two trials, if you take away the fistula from the Miser trial in the surgical group, the similarity exists between the outcomes and complications of both the group, that is an endoscopic or a surgical group. However, fistula is a morbid condition and this has to be included, thus giving an advantage to the endoscopy as far as the outcomes are concerned. While Dr. Garg, when he described it using primarily a plastic stent, a 10 French double pigtail stent was used, and if necrosectomy was required, then a direct necrosectomy was done without putting in a metal stent by doing a large dilatation, balloon dilatation of this. And that could be one of the reasons that in the initial stages, the opening was not big enough, and hence the risks of infections were higher. However, both these studies conclusively establish that the endoscopy or laparoscopy go hand in hand or are equally good as far as the drainage of the one is concerned. With Miser trial, with the slight superiority of the endoscopy group do exist, but we know that this depends, endoscopic expertise is very limited as of now, and hence where the endoscopic expertise is available, probably an endoscopic drainage should be preferred in these circumstances. Now the second study which in this were published was early versus standard endoscopically centered step-up interventions for necrotizing pancreatitis. In these, the patients were divided. There were 193 patients. Those about 76 underwent early intervention, that is those before 4 weeks, and these interventions were deteriorating clinical condition and organ failure with infections leading to interventions in these circumstances, and 117 late, that is after 4 weeks. When we looked into this, the success rate was good in both the circumstances, 90% of the times. However, the primary indications in early interventions was infection and deteriorating clinical conditions. While that was not the case when a late intervention were done, where there were a lot of other indications, including gastric outlet obstruction and biliary tract obstruction. The all-cause mortality was higher in those with early interventions, and also there was a much higher need of rescue necrosectomy in early intervention group. However, this can be judged as the patients who underwent an early intervention were sicker as compared to those who underwent a late intervention, as well as probably they had a much larger difficult course. And hence, these changes were not because of the disease status, but because of but not because of the intervention. Now, this has given us an idea that about half of the necrosis actually forms the wall by 3rd week, and early intervention is possible, and early intervention, endoscopic early intervention has a role as far as the sick patients are concerned, and those who are deteriorating. They probably give a better outcomes since they reduce the incidence of fistula when a percutaneous intervention is done. So these should be considered if you have a reasonably well-formed wall in these circumstances. early removal of biflange metal stent in the management of walled-off pancreatic necrosis by Dr. Vinay Dheer, Douglas Adler, and Dr. Amit Maydev. We all know that when we keep a self-expandable metallic stent for a longer duration, we have chances or possibility of higher risk of adverse events, which includes bleeding, migration, and buried stents, while the shorter duration can lead to higher risk of recurrence. Here, biflange metal stents were placed in 88% of the patients, where technical success was achieved in almost everybody, and functional success was achieved in nearly 80% of the patients. These stents were removed on a median of 3.5 weeks. The collapse of the cavity with healthy granulation tissue was an indication for removal. However, the duration varied from 3 to 17 weeks. After removal and without placement of any plastic stent, about 10% of the patient had recurrence, and there was an analysis whether they had a pancreatic duct leak or not. So recurrence were higher in those who have a pancreatic duct leak, but it did not have a correlation with placement of pancreatic stent. That is, whether you place the stent or whether you don't place a pancreatic stent via ERCP in these patients, the recurrence remained the same. Majority of these recurrences resolved on its own, and only one of them actually required a subsequent intervention. So moving ahead, I think the most common intervention which we do with EUS is tissue acquisition, which actually established the EUS in day-to-day clinical practice. We all know FNA was introduced by Dr. Peter Willman and group in 1990s. He's here with us. This is now widely accepted for diagnosis and staging of GI malignancies and mediastinal lesion. FNA is the main form. However, the disadvantage is we don't get the cellular characteristics of the stoma, which can be required for the histological assessment. And hence, the new generation needles were established, or FNB needles, of which there are already 3 generations. That is, the first generation are the Procore needle, quick core needle, or the Procore needle, and the reverse bevel Procore needle. Now Francine or shock core type of needle, that is the 3rd generation needles, which can be called as. While I could not say a single article could define all these criteria, but some of the articles which could be called as landmark gave us the directions in these situations also. And again, this is meta-analysis comparing a Procore standard standard fine needle aspiration for endoscopic ultrasound guided tissue acquisition by Dr. Varadarajulu and his group, which was published in Endoscopy in 2016. 9 studies were included, which included 576 patients. Now, when these histology acquiring or FNB needle, first generation, was compared, no significant difference was found between the sample adequacy, histologic core procurement rate. However, the only advantage of Procore needle was the reverse bevel needle required less number of passes to achieve the same efficacy as the other. Now, relatively recently, that is in Endoscopy International Open in 2019, another meta-analysis was published by Antonio Facioroso et al., and which included about 6,641 patients and 24 studies, which was a comparison between the 3rd generation needle and the previous generation FNB needles and FNA needles. When it was looked at whether you are looking at Francine needle or shock core needle, there was no difference as far as the histological core procurement was concerned. So whichever needle you pick, you probably are going to get however, when sample adequacy was concerned, there was no difference between the 3rd generation and the simple FNA needle. That means the adequate FNA sample could be achieved with both either an FNA needle or the needle with this. Keeping this in mind, however, we can say that FNA and FNB needles perform equally as far as the diagnostic accuracy is concerned. Third generation needles give a better quality histologic core tissue. And so whenever a histological specimen and preserved tissue architecture is required, as Dr. Rajesh Puri just now demonstrated for the imatinib therapy, he will require immunohistochemistry. For that, a tissue is required. Then in these situations, it is directly preferable to take a FNB rather than FNA. Can we shift all the cases from FNA to FNB? I think the decision is not yet made. We have to wait for the answer for some period of time. The third group, which I would like to include, is US guided biliary drainage. We all knew there are multiple access points available in biliary drainage. We can do transmurally through the liver, or we can do transenterally either from the stomach or from the duodenum in these circumstances. So which of these can this be chosen as an alternative to PDBD when ERCP fails? We had no definite idea. We all were doing it. We all knew the technique, but can this be a standard one? Was a meta-analysis was picked up in gastrointestinal endoscopy in 2017. There were 9 studies included in this, but only 3 of them were actually randomized controlled trial to compare between PTBD and the endoscopic ultrasound. The rest 6 were observational studies. Overall, about 483 patients were included in this meta-analysis. When a technical success was looked at between the US and those with the PTBD, on the right is those favoring PTBD and on the left is those favoring US. It was found to be almost equal in both the groups. So technically, success rates is similar whether you do it by a PTBD or you do it by endoscopic ultrasound. However, clinical success rate was more in favor of endoscopic ultrasound as compared to the PTBD. Sorry. However, there is a caveat here. When a randomized controlled trial was taken, there was no significant difference between the success rate of the PTBD or US in these circumstances. When adverse events are concerned, the group completely favored towards the US group, and PTBD had a significantly higher adverse rate. IUSBD thus had a better clinical success rate, had a significantly lower rate of intervention and lower complications. There's no difference in the length of hospital stay, and hence with this probably we can say that USBD should be considered as the second rescue procedure after ERCP fails wherever the expertise is available. However, we need to keep in mind that right intrahepatic duct drainage PTBD is still useful. It's a difficult task to go through to the right side and drain into the stomach. Thank you very much for your patient listening. I think I picked up 3 important clinical groups and the articles which changed the practice in the last 5 years.
So we have 3 minutes for discussion. Any questions, then we can shift to the next speaker, but 3 minutes for discussion. If any question to Dr. Wadhwa, please. So if there is no question, we can shift to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Rajesh, once again.
And thank you, Dr. Wadhwa.